Welcome to the Prison Professors Podcast. We serve people who face challenges with prosecution, sentencing, and prison. My co-founders are Sean Hopwood and Justin Paperny. My name is Michael Santos. We create digital content and our team offers individual consulting services. We also assist agencies that want to improve outcomes. To learn how we can help you, text the word PrisonPro to 44222. Again, text PrisonPro to 44222 and get our free brochure. You can also visit us at prisonprofessors.com or contact Justin at 818-424-2220. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Send confirmation that you reviewed our podcast and we'll send you a free digital book. Stay tuned for a 20 to 30-minute episode of Prison Professors. Welcome to the Prison Professors program. I am Michael Santos. Today we have the privilege of learning from Patricia Egipciaco. Patricia has some family experience with the criminal justice system, but she really impressed me as somebody who wants to help people who are in prison make better decisions and prepare for lives of success, meaning, and relevance. And that's what we're about here. So today we're going to be hearing about Patricia. I'm going to ask her questions. It's really our first day of conversation, but I have visited her website. I've read a little bit about her, and I look forward to sharing her story with you. So Patricia, welcome to Prison Professors. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your interest or how you became interested in the criminal justice system?
Well, hi, Michael, and thank you for having me. My story is an interesting one. I come from an interracial family, and as a young person, I watched my brothers who were African American and my brothers who were white do a lot of the same things as teens. You know, drink, smoke, get into trouble here and there. But it very quickly became impressed upon me that my African American brothers were being criminalized for the same incidents and activities that my white brothers were, being returned home to mom and dad, maybe, getting into trouble, getting scolded by the police, but always returned home to parental custody. And after watching my brothers go through that, and watching one brother in particular at about 14 start to be criminalized by activity that, I had already seen wasn't necessarily criminalizing for the other brothers, that always stuck with me. But I did not begin to work in the criminal justice system until about 30 years later. I worked in manufacturing, running an IT consulting firm that worked with international manufacturing companies. We did software modifications, and that became very interesting to me, how we could take processes and interrupt a process and actually put it on the right track through just a change in a system. And so as I began thinking about that, at some point, one of my brothers got arrested on a federal charge, and my sisters and I went down to the trial, which was held in Missouri, and we thought we were bringing our brother home, when in all actuality, he ended up getting convicted. And at that point in life, I was reaching a point where I think I had done enough of the consulting work and really felt like I wanted to take those same talents and turn them towards some social issues. And this is the one that had always been staring me in the face. So it became apparent to me that I needed to leave that business and come work in reentry. And so what I did was I left the consulting firm, and I spent all of 2016 going around to all the jails, prisons, halfway houses, and reentry agencies that would allow me to come in and use my UX design skills to interview and provide research on what it was that ex-offenders needed to stop recidivating. And that sounds like a little, one question, like it couldn't have taken very long, but really what it meant was that with each person, I had to sit down for about an hour to an hour and a half and find out about their user journey, what were their pain points, what worked for them, what worked against them. And I think typically reentry is something that, someone thinks of an idea and perpetuates it. I didn't think like that. I thought that I had to get the answers from the folks who were going through the system. And sure enough, they did provide me with those particular points that they needed. And I put my tech hat on and tried to solve those problems. And the end result was the website, MyReBuiltLife.
So I'm looking at My Rebuilt Life now, and I'm curious what you learned from the people that helped you shape this site. You said you interviewed a lot of people and you got their experience. What did they tell you that resulted in you saying, "Oh, I need to build a website that will help them develop resumes and help them get ready for the job market"? Tell us what you learned from them that made you feel this is the type of site that we need to build.
Okay. Well, they're kind of couched in pain points. So I'll tell you, what the users told me, and then what our solution was for each one. The first one is everyone told us, when I get out of prison, if you want to Google me or find things out about me on the internet, you see lots of negative things. So what I need is some sort of a repository, some place online where I can put good things about me so that there's more of a balanced representation of who I am. So that was the problem. The solution for us was to basically take a LinkedIn-like format. Now, we're not designed or set up exactly like LinkedIn, but that's pretty much the closest thing to us in terms of a format. So we made this LinkedIn-like profile where people could take the certificates that they had earned in prison or even things that they had earned post-prison, put those up there. We tabulate volunteer hours in that profile. We also talk about skill sets, what you bring to the table, and a lot of other humanizing things. But the key is that we update the site every 24 hours. And so with the registry updates constantly happening, what you find is that after you've built a profile on our site, that soon after when someone searches you, the results of your My Rebuilt Life profile start to show up relatively high in that profile or in that search. And so the benefit then for our users is that now there starts to be a little bit of a balance. The second thing that they told us, and this is a huge problem that we're still trying to tackle nationwide, and our hope is to work with all 50 DOCs in the next couple of years so that we are an exit tool for them, because what we found is that people said to us, when I get out, I go to a 2-3 week resume writing class and job readiness class, which obviously takes a lot of time. And what I walk away with is a paper resume. Now that can get crumpled on the bus, on the train, then all of a sudden now it doesn't look so great. Maybe it wasn't even laid out so nicely in the first place. And it's not exactly the tool that it's meant to be. Also, 74% of all jobs nationwide require an electronic resume, and our surveys show us that over 90% of reentry agencies hand people a paper resume and they walk out the door with that, so they don't even have an electronic copy. So the fun one, that was actually a fun one to solve. So what we did was we have a self-harvesting questionnaire that our users come to our site and takes about 10 minutes. Most of it's tick boxes, very little of it is actually writing, so we address the literacy challenges of our users with it, but we also address the vocabulary challenges, because employers speak in one vocabulary, and we're typically finding that our users talk about their skills in a positive way, but not necessarily the same language. So we marry all that up in this questionnaire, and as soon as our users spend 10 minutes filling out that questionnaire, they hit save, and now what they have in front of them is a locked PDF file of the same resume that Marissa Mayer, the Google CEO, uses. It's very humanizing, it's very personal, and it gives a person a way to sell themselves, and it is not dependent upon chronology, so the gap in your employment is not really focused on this resume. Now, we also found that 79% of our users have a smartphone when they get out of prison, or have access to a smartphone. So we also make that same resume smartphone compatible, and our site is smartphone compatible, so that no matter where they are out in the community, they have this beautiful resume that they can email, print, or download and manipulate, update, do whatever they want 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
So how do the employers, what about the employers? I noticed that there's a section on there for employers to access your website. In what ways are employers using your product and service?
Well, there's still 3 more features of the site, but we can talk about this too. But then I'll let you know what else the site has.
No, go in your order. I don't want to take you off.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
Stay on your order.
Okay, I appreciate that. So the third feature that we give users, users told us, well, when I get out of, so many of our convictions are drug convictions, that when we get out, we have a hard time going back to school. And we want to obtain additional credentials, but this is a problem. So we have portal arrangements with Harvard, edX, MIT Online, and Coursera, which is a big collection of universities, so that our users can take those classes, and upon completion and certificate receipt, they can post those certificates online. And so we're giving them a way to avoid having to get financial aid and pay for costly college courses, but still get the college credentials that we know that a lot of our rebuilders, and that's what we call our users, rebuilders, that a lot of our rebuilders want and need. And so we are that conduit for them. The fourth thing is a lot of them told us that I want to put a line of demarcation in the sand. I want to say that, this is who I used to be, and I want credit for the good time that I'm now trying to build up. So we tried to work with police agencies to find out if there was any way we could document people's good times, and we hit a brick wall with that one. So what we devised was a system where they can upload a little video, and if I can use myself as the example, it would go something like this. Hi, I'm Patricia, and I was arrested in 1983 for grand theft auto. Since then, I've learned to control my impulses and focus my efforts on a career in cosmetology. None of which is true, but the point is, now if an employer comes to our site, and that's what we do. We are a subscription-based service for employers to come search for employees. Non-discriminatory employers are highly encouraged to come and sign up. And what they do is they can come now, hear that story, and what we're finding is a lot of our rebuilders are actually getting hired off of the site. And rather than having to go around and repeat what is possibly the most, devastating worst day of their life over and over and over again in interviews, now they are able to say it once and be done with it on our site. So that an employer can hear that, they can see how personable the person is, how sincere they are by watching this video, and they can make the determination on whether they want to call that person in for a job interview. The last thing that we have on the site is something we call soft reputational support. In talking with users about their journey and what happens when they get home, what we found is that almost everyone comes home with a lot of energy and a lot of interest in restoring their relationships. So they're coming home and they're doing a lot of great things. They're helping family members. They're, working in their churches. They're volunteering in the community, all sorts of things, but they weren't getting credit for it. So now what they do is our system is, we call it soft reputational support. And once they build their profile, they print off a page of cards, and off of that page of cards, they can cut those up. It comes out to like 8 cards on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And now if you're out of prison and you're doing all those great things you're doing, now you hand people those cards and they can leave feedback on your profile so that those references can be seen by employers when they come to the site. You can accept or decline. You have complete control. And if you like, the feedback, you accept it, and then now you can start harvesting that. So potentially when someone gets out of prison, they could start taking a class. They could harvest, 4 or 5 references in a month, and they could end the month with a completed profile, a beautiful resume, some references from the community, and even the completion of a class or 2.
How long has it been since you went live with this program?
We went live on May 29th.
Of 2017? Of
2017, yeah. It was a year and a half to build and to research. Uh-huh.
And do you have some idea? Well, I guess you would have an idea, but how many people have you been able to get ready to enroll in MyReBuiltLife?
Well, we have over 3,500 users on the site, and we have done some follow-up reporting, and we're looking at about 10 to 11% of them so far have gotten hired.
How do you recruit people to come in? Like, how would somebody that just got out of prison in California find your site, learn about it, if they want to start building a website or a profile? How are they going to find you?
All they have to do is go to www.MyReBuiltLife.com. And currently, we actually do have users all across the nation. Here in Chicago, we do, and we make ourselves available for nonprofit agencies to go in and do a 2-hour onboarding session that was developed for us by someone on our staff who has a master's degree in social work and has worked in reentry. She developed a 2-hour program in which we can get people onboarded. However, it was really important to us when we, discovered the needs of the population to make sure that they could sit at home and do it themselves. So anyone going to www.MyReBuiltLife.com can sign up by themselves. And currently in California, we actually have a large user population in Oakland. Shout out to Oakland. And we also are very popular in Queens, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Jacksonville, Florida, and Dallas, Texas. We have big pockets there too. But we also have users just, everywhere across the nation right now.
A lot of our users are still in prison. In fact, we're in every state prison in California, and we're also in the New York City Department of Corrections. So people who are listening to this are in jail, and although they don't have access to the internet, they may be able to begin building their profile while they're incarcerated. It sounds like if they had a family member contact MyReBuiltLife. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. A family member can get on actually to the site, and if they wanted to, they can just print out the application pages and send that to someone who's incarcerated, or they could fill out as much as they could prior to that person coming home. Then when that person came home, they could spend a few additional minutes getting everything updated, and they've got their resume ready to go and do their job search.
Would they be able to continue to update their profile? Let's say that somebody's got 10 years to go in prison, but they want to start documenting their classes that they completed in prison and the good works that they did while they were in prison. Is there a mechanism on MyReBuiltLife.com for them to really make an extensive profile that might be more resemble of a curriculum vitae that has all of their works on there, or is there a limit to how much they can write?
There is no limit. The formatting, though, does stay the same as it is for the Google, the Google CEO's resume, which does include a lot of really interesting things on it. But no, let's say you had, a lot of jobs, it would just push it to a 2-page resume versus a 1-page resume. But there are also things on that resume that are very interesting, like how does someone spend a day in their life? That's a pie chart. So we want to demonstrate to employers how industrious the person is. This isn't necessarily applicable to the person who's incarcerated, but to the person who comes out. If you're not working, we want to show how full your day already is. Maybe you're taking some substance abuse programming. Maybe you're doing volunteer work at your church. All of that goes into it. Also things like what is the most proudest moment of your work life? Maybe a time when you affected change in a work environment or a volunteer environment, you did something good. We also list the books that you've read while you were incarcerated or while you're on the outside. All these things are intended to give employers something to find relatable about the person who's been incarcerated. And sort of, humanizing that sort of thing. And then one of my favorite features on the resume is your philosophy of life. And we always, we talk to our users about how that is a real demonstration of personality. That, if my philosophy of life and my own personal one is the Nietzsche quote, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. We tell people that philosophy of life can tell a lot of people about you. So make sure that, you really have something that represents you as a tenacious individual, which we know that our users are because we do follow the research. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, but, we've got 30 years of Johns Hopkins studies. We've got the U.S. Army Amherst study of 1,100 people whose backgrounds were waived. And then now recently in February of 2017, we have a Kellogg School of Business study out of Northwestern University here in Chicago. And all of them advocate for the tenacity and the good work skills of the ex-offender. I mean, quite honestly, it's our hope to become a bit of a social movement as time goes on and to actually tip the scale in the other direction so that people see that ex-offenders actually bring more to the table through the process that they've gone through incarceration than the then the folks who kind of lived the American dream and lived at home with mom and dad got put through college and, lived their lives. There's a toughness that the rebuilders bring to the table. And we would one day really like America to understand that it's not just $90 billion in GDP we lose by underemploying ex-offenders and not employing them, but we lose the richness of our workplaces. We lose, the tenacity of the rebuilders. We lose a lot of things. And we're not as good as we can be because we are not looking at what ex-offenders really bring to the table. And so that's something that we pound the drum on very heavily.
You said that you are working in the process of working with 50 different departments of corrections. Can you tell us how receptive they have been?
So far, we are not working with 50 of them. We are trying to. And that is actually an interesting process. They are all the ones that we've had the chance to speak with. We'll probably be deploying close to home here at IDOC, at Illinois DOC first. And they're all very receptive. But what we're finding is that they need, they're not as well funded as they'd like to be. And so there's a lot of programming dollars they need to secure to bring us in. But everyone from the federal BOP system, down to the DOCs that we've spoken to have all been very excited about the process, because any of the DOCs that are interested in really limiting recidivism need to figure out how to gain traction for their users that leave. And because we are user designed, we think we're a really good mechanism for just, simply gaining the traction and also reestablishing the two-way civic engagement. We consider ourselves a restorative justice tool, a mental health tool, because, we're all about getting the individual to reframe their skill sets and their image of themselves so that the incarceration is one thing it's okay to focus on, but we really want to get people shifted away from that and not looking at that as, as much of a drawback, but as a strengthening process and something that now gives them something really awesome to bring to the table.
And what is the cost of MyReBuiltLife.com for the end user and for if the agencies are going to pay a fee? What would the cost be to them?
Okay. Well, onboarding sessions, it depends on how many people we're going to be onboarding and what our contractual arrangements are. But it ends up being about $100 to $120 a person for that onboarding process. Then correctional agencies have the ability to use our system to track 34 data points on the users long after they leave. So any DOCs or any organizations that work in reentry, they have the opportunity to then take our reports that we would send them monthly on each individual on those 34 data points, and they can actually validate their programming efforts. They can use it to help determine in a statistically objective way how their programming dollars should be spent in the future and how effective they are at curbing recidivism through their existing programming efforts. No one else is offering the prisons, jails, or any of the reentry agencies anything like this. So we are completely, new and innovative in this sense. But it is our goal to make sure that programs that aren't effective in the future are eliminated and that programs that work get validated. We really want to help those DOCs that are doing the innovative things and that are successfully reintegrating people. We want to help them validate that. So that's something that they can come to us for. That's one arm of what we do is those onboarding sessions. Now for the businesses that come to our site, they have two ways to pay. They can pay on an annual cost, which allows them to search all over the country. There's no border limitation, and they can search under all sorts of paradigms, different career paths, different zip codes. All of those things can be taken into consideration when they're searching, but they can search for an entire year for $599. Or if they just want to try us out, they can pay $99 a month and just take us for a couple of months and see how they like the experience and how effective it is for them. But there is no site in the nation that's giving them as much information as we're giving them. We are not only, like Indeed is an awesome one, an awesome site that a lot of the ex-offenders do use. But all it tells people is whatever is on your resume and whatever is in your career profile. We're giving people the opportunity to share what books they've read in prison, what certifications they have, what their philosophy of life is, all this other more personalizing information, because one of the things that we realize is that, people hire people, and if you don't have the opportunity through a great resume and through a nice profile, through the ability to post your picture, all that stuff, it's really hard for an employer to make a connection with you and to feel like there's anything that they can relate to you on. And so our site gives you all this information. So employers are loving it, because before they even call someone in with that video that I told you about earlier, they're able to essentially conduct 15, 20 interviews at home in their robe with a cup of coffee in their hands. We're making that process before they ever bring someone in. We're making the process such that they have so much information they can feel comfortable with that person before the person comes in.
And how many people are on the team of MyReBuiltLife.com?
Oh, that's a great question. Right now we have a team of 4. 3 of them are acting as salespeople, and one of the salespeople also helps me with the onboarding sessions.
Do you hire formerly incarcerated people, or are there opportunities for formerly incarcerated people to build a career with MyReBuiltLife.com?
Absolutely. And as we spread out to those 50 DOCs and we, try to make a name for ourselves nationwide, we're looking for 2 things. We're looking for salespeople, and we do love to hire ex-offenders, because ex-offenders know the process, they know the story, and also they bring to the table all those great qualities that I was telling you about that the research validates. We have a tenacious bunch of people who come in and work for us, and they're just awesome. They come in with great ideas, they're hardworking, all that. But we are going to be looking for salespeople, and we're also going to be looking for people to come into those onboarding sessions and assist us with sign-up.
We've been speaking with Patricia Egipciaco, who is the CEO and founder of MyReBuiltLife.com. She's been talking with us about steps that formerly incarcerated people and even people in prison could begin taking to position themselves for employment, and they can begin rebuilding a new life and a new narrative of their life. And this system offers them an opportunity to do so. If you are incarcerated, you may have a family member. Visit MyReBuiltLife.com or send an email to crucialvision.com so that Patricia can, or her team can, fill you in on what steps you can be taking to documenting your life. Patricia, is there any questions? We've come to the end of this episode. Are there any questions that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you about MyReBuiltLife.com?
No, I think we've covered everything. I think that the need is just, for the audience, anyone who can help us get the word out, help us reach the agencies, the DOCs, the halfway houses, anyone who steps into any of those facilities, if they have a profile, if they've used the site, we just ask you while you're out in the community to evangelize, to let people know. There'll never be a charge for the users, so anyone anywhere that leaves prison has access to this tool, and reentry agencies that don't even want to bring us in for onboarding, they can use the tool too, because right now what we know is that resume creation is taking days and weeks, and really it can be done in 10 minutes, and the agency can be assured that the people that are going out with those resumes have access to them 24/7, and we think that's a great thing.
And we think it's a great thing too, which is why we're proud to profile MyReBuiltLife.com on prison professors. Everybody who's gone through our courses know how much emphasis we place on the importance of defining a new narrative, writing the next chapter of your life, documenting every stage of the journey, and MyReBuiltLife.com provides that opportunity for anybody to begin sowing those seeds for a better future. I am Michael with PrisonProfessors.com. We, on behalf of my partners, Sean Hopwood and Justin Perney, we thank you. We'll be back tomorrow with another inspiring guest. Thank you.